Welcome to the Grand Shorts, a part of the Grand Podcast. The Grand. My name is Niels Tudor Winter, and I'm the creator, editor, and host of The Grand. The Grand is an independent podcast initiative with the ambition to dig into all corners of the EU R&D funding system on topics of interest for the full EU R&D funding community. First, a small request. I have become independent and I'm now building up my podcast company. Therefore, I'm right now looking for proposals and projects that could be interested in attaching my podcast to the communication and dissemination activities. Go to my website, thegrand.eu, and send me a message if you want to hear more about how to work together with the Grand. Now the episode. All my episodes the last 3 years that digs into idea development are very popular. And for a while I have been wondering how I could develop new content within this area. And here it is. Together with Ana-Marija Špicnagel, that some of you might remember from earlier episodes, I have developed an audible idea development workshop. We have simply taken a concrete Real Horizon Europe call text and then broken it down into 3 episodes, analyzing the call text, presenting the canvas model that Anna is applying, and finally shaping a concrete example of a core project idea. All of this to offer inspiration and to give a peek into how this process can be carried out. In the first episode, we analyzed the call text. In the second episode, Anna presented her idea development canvas model. And here in this third and final episode, Anna and I do an idea development process for the concrete call based on her bird view canvas model. And here an important tip for most added value by listening to this episode. Click the link in the episode resume in your podcast host and go to the website of this episode. Here I have a link to the call text, and here I have uploaded Anna's presentation and other information so you can better follow what we discuss in these 3 episodes. Please enjoy! The Grand. Welcome to The Grand, the EU funding podcast. Now, Anna and I, we're on a roll here in this 3-episode mini-series on idea development. And Anna, welcome back.
Hello, everyone. I'm back in the studio again.
It's all artificial because we are recording these in a straight row. So it's of course a little artificial, but it's just like this. And we are giving a treat to my listeners, right? We're given the treat of analyzing nicely a call text, giving tips on how to analyze that, and you have spilled your beans on how you work with your concrete model. That will be uploaded also on the episode site. In episode 2, went through how you attack a call text, which model you're using, which tools you're using. Very concrete. And now, in this episode, we're going to work with it. And this is the one I've been most excited about, or weary about, or curious about how we manage, because this was my motivation from the beginning to make a workshop in action. We'll see how it works. Now, before we do anything else, just 2 words about yourself.
Well, hello everyone. My name is Ana-Marija Špicnagel, and I'm actually working with Horizon projects for the last 13 years, and have been involved in the process of the development of proposals, but also the execution of the projects from different angles, from the business planning, from the exploitation, from the communication segment.
Classic strong grants consultant there, building up your own company. Well done in Croatia. It's a new EU member state and so on. It's super.
It's not new. It's 10 years already.
Yeah, but you're the latest one.
Time flies.
Yeah. You're in the Euro. Denmark is not where I'm from. So No, and we will try to do this, and I'm just going to keep an eye on the time here. So let's try to see if we can do this in 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're going to work with your model.
Mm-hmm.
Take me in your hand and
through the process. Okay. In the previous podcasts or episodes, you could see actually that the key is in the simplicity, or trying to put the complex things in the simple manner. And the same approach is applied here. So you will see a couple of different slides, but it all starts with the basic.
Let me remember to say that all slides, everything here will be shared on the episode site. So don't do this when you're driving your car if you're listening. But this, you can, if you are specifically interested in idea development, you will of course at one point sit in front of your computer. You can go in, find the episode, and find these slides so you can follow while you're listening to them. So sorry.
Yeah. But because it's slides, you can do it during the working hours. No one will be worried. Yes, so we will start first with the concept of the project that we wanted to initiate, because as you remember from the call itself, there are different wordings and terminologies that they used, and that are getting, let's say, the attention of the audience and of the consortium. You have to implement these things if you really want to make sure that you are covering the whole concept of the call. In this concrete case, we are talking about the call that focuses on the soil and improving the soil quality in Europe through different elements. We start first with the state of the art, actually. State of the art is the analysis of the current status, how it is nowadays, for example, in Europe. What are the problems that the soil is facing across Europe? By the way, there is a very big problem with soil quality, and majority of European soils are actually degraded in quality, which means that we could not produce so much food as we should because of the soil quality. So that's why we also want to deal with this topic. But let's get back to the concept. The state of the art just analyzes under the loop all the current conditions. And after that, we say, okay, we want to do the analysis. So we want to do something in the lab. We want to put those soil samples in different perspectives and to do it and do the analysis from the research point. And after that, we know how is the situation now, what are the problems. We have been doing the analysis, so we have our own results as well. And then we want to actually make a strategy. So how to deal with the problems that we are facing, how to approach it. And based on the strategy, one thing is to have its strategy on the paper, another thing is to put it in the practice, right? And in this practice, we want actually to use the living labs. We want to use the demo sites where you can actually implement these strategies and then continue to receive the feedback from stakeholders, specifically farmers and researchers who are putting this analysis or these strategies in practice, that you hear whether in the real case conditions it makes sense or it doesn't make sense. And based on their feedback, which is continuous, so it's not, that's a very important element. The feedback from stakeholders is something that should happen continuously. Whether you are developing the business model canvas, whether you are developing the training session or a strategy for soil recommendations, you have to listen stakeholders and ask them for feedback continuously if you really want to improve. And based on that feedback from their side, you actually can move to the optimization step, where the strategy that is first in the first row implemented or mentioned could modify. Maybe we were not right, maybe we missed some important information, maybe there is something completely different a problem on the field. And that's the concept actually that we introduced. So you'll see it's only 6 words at the end of the day, only 6 words. And based on this, we actually managed to develop the work packages around this concept.
Yeah.
I will not go into too many details, but I would like to say that, for example, it was also briefly mentioned in the previous episode. The work package 1 was focused more on the knowledge and practices of this of the current status. We also included the survey of farmers about their perception, about their practices, etc., etc. Remember the ongoing process of feedback. And then in the work package 2, we focused on more technological and agronomic innovations. So what can be done, how to design different innovations for long-term soil health, whether we do the collaboration, co-creation of agricultural innovation, and so on. So it's more technological, very, very technological.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third one is actually scaling out and on-farm implementation. As I indicated, so we use this, let's say, funnel of information and we feed it in order to really make a living lab or a case study or a demo site in practice.
Yeah, so sort of, if I should describe this for the listener here, so you have sort of the technical work packages you have placed in top. It's in top. So you have work package 1, 2, and 4 next to each other at the top, and they are that's knowledge, practice, and environmental needs. It's technological and economic innovation, socioeconomic dimension. So these are all elements where things need to be investigated, where things need to be developed. Now, at the bottom of this slide, you have the 2 work packages that are dealing with the real world, so to say. You have work package 3 and 5, where you have the big one, that is the motor here. That is the big one, because it's the demonstration part. It's the living labs. It's out in the real world where things need to be implemented, where everything goes to and from, so to say. So everything that is being done at the top is going back and forth from there, because that's where it needs to be implemented. And together with that big demonstration and pilot work package, you have the knowledge exchange with the DS stakeholders out there. So that's also the real world, so to say. So I think should it be? Is it a correct analysis that it should be seen like this?
You can also see that, for example, this is a specific and special box, let's say, of the more technical part of the work. And then also you can see on the right side the work package 4 and 5, which is more like this kind of, let's say, an additional element. Softer measures to analyze the socioeconomic dimension of ecosystem, also the knowledge transfer, the communication with stakeholders, and this kind of stuff.
Sorry, I see now. You have a big square box that combines 1, 2, and 3. So the technical and knowledge, knowledge and practices, and the implementation, the pilot, and then so they are there together, and then you have. Yeah, I understand. Yeah. But
it really must be also very clear for the person who is reading it the first time, because sometimes when we are writing the proposal, we are working on it day and night for weeks or a month in some cases. And at a certain point, you forget that the person who will receive it and do the let's say, the examination of the proposal is seeing it for the first time and has maybe 2 hours to make the decision whether it's approved or not approved. So the context and also the graphic design, I would say, have to be on spot. so that it's easy understandable and that they automatically see the connection between the different work packages. Whenever we have had this kind of approach with arrows indicating the connection between work packages, it always was a proposal that got approved. So this interconnection is important. And why is it important? Because when you have so many people working on the proposal, so you have like 7 or 8 partners from different countries, from different organizations working each on their own work package, it can easily get tangled in a way that it's separate work packages and that they don't see how they could use the information from the other work package, at what time this data will be prepared so that they can use it in their work package and so on and so on. So that's why these kind of arrows also indicate both the consortium but also the reviewer, the whole concept. And then throughout the whole thing, it's about VP6 communication, dissemination and exploitation. And the last one, of course, the coordination and project management.
Yeah, they're always there and they are horizontal across it. Because it had to. But this, and this, I've done a lot of this. Yeah. So but it's very important indeed that you don't get speed blind. Yeah. When you sit with your own system and you start to build things that is too complex for others to understand, but it makes perfect sense to you. But that's because you've been.
You're living
close
it.
Yourself. You're close.
It's in your dreams.
You have closed yourself into a room, locked yourself into a room with a few people that also understands that. But then when other people needs to see that, they say, "What the hell's this?" Yeah. So that's it. Yeah.
That's true. I mean, it's about the whole proposal as well, because you cannot expect that the reviewer is always 100% familiar with all the methodologies or all the tools or all the input that you have in your consortium. And that's why you really have to present it in a way that they can easily connect and understand. And the same is also about all the other presentations. When you have a good presentation, they say that both a 10-year-old and a 100-year-old person can easily understand you, and then you know that you did a good work.
I think when you make these things, it is very important that you don't do it alone. So we just went through how you did the model, right? But where you brainstorm together with people and so on and so forth. If you have, and it's a key point here, because you need to have someone to play a ball up against, even if you're the driving force in the on the motor, the intellectual motor in developing the concept. You need to have someone to play the devil's advocate or say, "Nah, wait a minute, that's not possible." Because, and how do you, why do you make a connection like this between this and this? That doesn't actually work, because then if you want to do, it's a lot about how to zoom out and look at how a whole system would work in such an innovation project. And it's very good. I myself am very strong with concepts. And anyone that has been looking at my website or follow what I do, for instance, I came to a concept with how I wanted my website to be, my layout. So I did. Now I'm following that. So I'm very strong with these kind of things. But when I was sitting and doing this with my colleague, so I was strong with concepts, but you need someone that can say, but that's not possible. That doesn't work. It might look nice, or it might make sense conceptually, but it doesn't
it's
work.
Not practical.
It doesn't work in the real. So you need just an example, just to. So it's very good to have someone who can think in concepts, because if you have someone like that in the group, then you will most likely have something that is clear conceptually. Whereas, okay, that's a nice concept. That's if they can pull,
it's understandable.
If they can pull that out of the end of the spine, then it's gonna be.
Now I'm showcasing and showing off, let's say, with this kind of final version. But this was, I think, like 7th or 8th different version, of the work package concept, which sounds as a very simple task, but at the end of the day, it was really a lot of modifications and optimizations, what wording to use, what to emphasize, what to, how to connect it, and so on, what colors to use. It's so many different things. And I, for example, in my company, we also have a very good colleague, a PR person, who is not from our field, but who can easily understand and learn about these kind of topics. So whenever I have this kind of, let's say, tasks, I always give her the basic draft of the work packages, the brainstorming mind map, and then I give her the concept that I have. And then, because she's outsider, because she's not emotionally connected, with the work done, with the process, she can be objective. And that's where you can actually make the optimizations, because she will say, this makes sense, this doesn't make sense. Why didn't you connect these two parts as well? Because she doesn't have all the extra information that I have in my head and that I thought that I communicated through the paper. So that's why it's very important to have someone who will say, it's not good. Start again.
Yeah. But now when I look at this model, it's actually the work packages could be, the headlines could be any Horizon Europe project. You have work package 1 where you have a survey, or you have analysis, you have work with the knowledge, what is already there. Then you have a technical work package, or actually work with technology, work package 2. And then if it's a demonstration, then you have, if it's not a demonstration, it might be something else where you need to use the technology you developed in work package 2. So here that's work package 3. And then you have the socioeconomic elements, which has become more and more. That's life cycle assessment, stuff like this. Also parts of, here you have socioeconomic dimensions, economic assessment. And then this exchange with the real world and policy recommendations. So it's from this point of view, it's a textbook build up, but it's what's in there. It's the bullets in the where you that is the heart of the concept. So how do all these things work together? What are we going to? What do we need to do here in order? What do we need to do in work package 1 to be able to move on? How is that connected with the work in work package 2? How is that connected with the work in work package 3? How does they interact back and forth? Does that influence any of the activities in this and this sub work package, and so on and so forth? That's the tricky part of all this.
Yeah, because it's on one picture or in one table. Actually, all the things that are the strong points that you indicate in the whole text of the proposal. So it's like 20 or 30 or 40 pages that you have to summarize in a single element. But that's why, and also you have to understand how people work in terms that our focus time, let's say the time that we need for the focusing and for the attention span is very short. So I think it's like 14 seconds or something, and after that you get like a bit bored because of the social media use and real stories and this kind of stuff. So from that point, you have to really make sure that at least the main titles are catchy enough that they trigger the attention, and that the reviewer or the person reading it still wants to understand the full concept and go into depth. Otherwise, if it's not the main titles that are well understood and connected, you lose the tension, and that's it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, I think maybe once we have the work packages developed, another important aspect. So in the work packages concept, we focus on the type of things that we will do. But we cannot so easily represent the geographical reach that a lot of Horizon projects is also focusing on, because you cannot do the research on Horizon project in one country, in 5 countries, and that's it. You have to focus in a larger area. If it's not the specifically consortium countries, then you also have to take into account the outreach regions and so on. So another important element that we like to take into account is, let's say, a geographical map of how the project is running. So it's a visual representation of the countries that are included. It's also the visual representation of, for example, the outreach regions that you want to take into account to see how much of the Europe you covered. And also, in this specific case, we wanted to showcase the demo sites, the living labs, and also the long-term experiments. So we had 3 types of different, let's say, demo sites, but they are called, they were in different levels. The demo site was the basic one that is a short-term demo site, just starting because of the project. Then we have the living lab, which is a longer-lasting type of practice in the field that started maybe before the project started and will continue regardless of the project. And then we have also the long-term experiment, which is really something that maybe was started 10 years ago and will still last for 10 years. So we included all of these aspects and we indicated them in the map and also in the table. So once the reviewer is checking it, he or she can easily find all the relevant information and see whether the geographical approach is respected and whether there are some points missing or everything is included. So yeah, I think we are visual creatures. The picture says the 1,000 words. So it's very important to have this kind of, let's say, geographical and graphic overviews.
Yeah, this will all, as mentioned before, this will all be shared on the website of this episode, so you can go in and check these things.
Yeah. And once we know, okay, how the work packages are organized, what countries we include or what geographical reach is covered, then we can go also into details in terms of time. Now in the Gantt chart, we are actually dealing with the time. And also the responsibility of different partners. You can more easily connect it, but you can see over here a table of different work packages, all the tasks that are under those work packages, and of course the month, the starting month and the end month of the task, and who is the leader of each of these tasks and work packages. And based on that, as you know, the Gantt chart focuses on the months of the project running. You can see in green highlighted how long each activity lasts, which is also kind of, let's say, crucial because in this time representation, you can see if you are expecting that you do some work and you still don't have the data from the previous work. Sometimes it happens that you have more activities running in the same period of time, but actually it should be one after another. So yeah, Gantt chart helps a lot.
There you have a lot of things in parallel, right? So it's
yeah, especially because when we are talking about agriculture, it's maybe also a bit more specific, because you are relying also on some crop seasons, on if you want to get some data, you have to do it at least 2 years in a row or 3 years in a row. So from that point, there is quite some activities that are in parallel, but still we indicated also all the deliverables. So what are the deadlines of the deliverables or the milestones of the specific tasks. And for example, in the segment of business planning, when we are doing that one, we also are involved in the process from the beginning, which is not always the case in Horizon projects. But I will tell you why we do it like that. We call it a silent partnership, and we are involved in the majority of the work packages, regardless whether it's a technical work package or a more knowledge transfer work package and so on. Why? Because if you want to understand the market, you have to understand the full process behind. And I will never know all the technical terms of some technology or innovation, but I need to understand what is the driving force behind. And if you just try to get and capture this in one meeting with the technology provider, you will get only one small part of the whole story. And that's why we are included in different meetings, and we collect the information. We organize the information that we get, and then we use it towards the end of the project in the implementation of the business model canvas, of the development of business plan, of trying to understand the exploitation routes for the research performed, and so on. So it's very important.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you have any questions about that, or
No, this
I
is
move to
so
the next
no,
part.
because the Gantt chart, it's of course everything zoomed out, and you see everything at the same time.
Yeah.
And it's there's a logic to each project. Each project has its own logic, but here it's as a principle. The first work packages where you need to investigate, or make to analysis and so on, or map a sector, whatever. That's always in the beginning. Technical, it's also in the beginning. Sometimes it runs through the full project, and then the demonstration, of course, is reliant on some of the things that have been done in the first, so they covered it later. That's the same you see here. So it's
yeah, but it's just important to understand that we started with the concept, which is more theoretical one, on the theoretical level and just the brainstorm level. Then we incorporated the work packages overview, which is like a structure of the project, and then we move to the geographical overview, and then we move to the timeline overview. So it's, let's say, you have to take into account all of these, both for the reviewer and review process, but also for the project execution. And I would say that the last part of the process is actually to better understand the impacts that your project has. So it's not only about the concrete and direct results of your project, but it's also about the indirect results and the greater impact of the project. And we also...
And it's something that the Commission has stressed more and more and more, and it's also something that is obligatory in the templates now. Yeah, there's a lot of focus on impacts in the different corners. So,
yeah, that's true. And the big challenge about the impacts is that you have to be bold in statements if you want your proposal approved. Let's be honest. And in the impact aspect, you are not relying only on you, on your consortium, on your resources. You are actually relying on the multiplication factor of your research and your results. How, if we are developing this digital tool, how it could impact different elements of the society in the long run. And it's not easy to do it. I would even say that this is the hardest part, because it's a bit of, let's say, risky to evaluate, but you still have to do it. Yeah, and when we are talking about the impact, it's also, you can take a look at from different points. So it's the technological impact, it's the scientific, agronomic, socioeconomic, communication impact, and so on. What is really important is that you have to be quantifying these impacts. So you cannot just state, for example, we want to target local communities and end users, but you have to be very specific. We want to target 15 local communities. We want to target 200 end consumers, and so on and so on. And this kind of quantification is a process, and normally this takes at least 2 meetings between the consortium
It's tricky.
work package leaders.
Some are easier than others too, but
Later in the process, it gets back to you.
Yeah, and I see here now. I'm looking at your overview here. For instance, the socioeconomic impact. That's how do you use 150 kindergartners? Good, like these figures. You need to discuss. You need to sit and go back and forth. What's realistic,
Yeah, and it's also about using the network that you have and each of the partners has. Because, for example, if you want to target 2,500 farmers, then we are checking, okay, how many farmers do you know? With how many farmers is your organization working, to see what is the real, let's say, network of the consortium, where we have strong points and where we are maybe lacking of the impact attention. So yeah, but this is very, very stressful, I would say, and especially because you also don't have too much area to write about it. And at the end of the day, you still have to quantify, regardless of the story behind. You still have to quantify and later really address and get to these impacts that you indicated. You just have to understand the market and understand also in the correlation of the budget. It's not the same impact if you're having a 3 million euro project or it's a 8 million euro project. So all of these elements have to be taken into consideration.
Yeah. And we reached the time.
Thank you.
Is there anything you want to closing remarks or any reflections, anything you would like to share before we end this episode and this series?
Maybe just that don't be afraid to modify the initial proposal, the initial concept. Sometimes when we are developing the proposal, we are much smarter at day 55 than we were at the day 1. And from that point, it's very important that as we do it also in business model canvas, that you just upgrade the whole model and that you are not relying on the draft first version that you initially started with. It's the same with life. You're always improving. You're starting in the kindergarten and you're going to high school, to faculty. So you're improving. We are improving models. So the same should be with the proposals.
It's a nice note to end on. It's true. Thanks, and thank you so much for joining me for this.
And thank you for the invitation.
No, but of course this is really valuable, and it's I've been wanting to do this for a long time, but it's always a matter of getting the right guest on board to do these kind of things. You've been doing wonderfully, and I'm sure that many listeners will take advantage of this. I really hope so out there. So, dear listeners, thank you so much for listening to the end of this episode and series. Hopefully you also listened to the first 2 episodes for it to make sense what we did here. Now, as mentioned a couple of times, you will find I will gather all 3 episodes. They will have their own sidebar. Gather it as I will gather all the information so it makes sense, and you can go in, click, and investigate everything we've been talking about here. So you can follow it, and if you want to dig into it and try to replicate or use some of the tools, you can desiccate what we're talking about here and see the information that it's based on. So do that. So while you are in there on my website, if you think, oh, this is fantastic, then please subscribe to my email list. You'll find the online form at the bottom of each page on my website. So do that. And connect with me on LinkedIn. Yeah. So that's where the fun happens. That's where the flow is. So that's where I share all my episodes, and this is also where I pick up many of my guests. So if you want to be a guest on the show, feel free to reach out. There's always something to talk about.
Thank you for your time. And if you have any kind of questions about this kind of tools or the development of proposals or tips and tricks, just feel free to reach both Niels and me on LinkedIn. We are quite active on LinkedIn, and I'm sure that we'll try to find the answer for your issues and challenges.
Yes, and you know what I'm going to do? I think I'm going to make a contact form. Include that on the website, so if people have questions, they can write to me. If they don't want to do it on LinkedIn, so it's just open up the opportunities for you guys out there if you want to reach out. That was that. Well done, super.
Yay, we did it. I'm really proud of us.
Let's say goodbye to the dear listeners. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of The Grant. All the Grant episodes have their own site on the Grant website. You'll find the link to the episode site where you listen to your podcast. As mentioned in the introduction, the site for this episode contains all the information, presentation, and documents you need to follow our idea development process in these 3 episodes. Next week, I'm back with a long format episode zooming in on support for postdoctoral fellowship proposals under the Marie Sklodowska-Curie actions. We look forward to that. The Grant.